you want to turn to your Bible in Exodus chapter 3. Exodus chapter 3, we'll begin reading in verse number 3. And it says there, "And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. And the Lord saw that he had turned aside to see. God called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not nigh hither. Put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place where thou standest is holy ground." The first thing I want to point out is Moses is faced with a decision, whether or not to take off his shoes. It seems kind of a simple decision, but before I get too much into it, I want to go back and just give a little bit of a background of how Moses has been brought to this point in his life. Obviously, we know that Moses was born whenever Pharaoh was trying to kill all the men or all the boys of Egypt, or from the Hebrew tribe. And so he was born, he was saved, God saved him. He was put into an ark that was floating down the river. The princess found him. She wanted him. She took him. Miriam, most likely, told the princess that, hey, I know someone that can take care of him, that can nurse him, that can bring him up. And she said, go get her. And so Miriam brought her mom. Moses' mom was able to raise Moses and was able to teach him about God and teach him about the things that God would do through him. But the first thing we learn about Moses, besides all these other things right here, is whenever Moses, in chapter 2, verse 11, it says, "And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was